This is probably my last SanDisk and my last Western Digital purchase. Why? Well, for those who did not read the blog post, I'll tell you why. And spoiler alert, it'll make you want to regret getting a SanDisk Extreme SSD like this one. Why is the camera not focusing? Anyway, just a minute. So here's the story. SanDisk has been well known for their extreme portable SSDs. But recently they've taken a hit. And I really mean it. So this is the SanDisk Extreme Go portable SSD. They are notorious for their durability and ability to survive in water. But what they don't mention is they are susceptible to failing. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I have read over the past several months stories of SanDisk Extreme SSDs, such as the one I have here, although I've not had this issue with this one here. I've read stories of them randomly erasing data and becoming unreadable. And SanDisk's parent company, Western Digital, did make note of this and release a fix for affected drives, which they only included 5, one of which is a Western Digital My Passport, and the other 4 are SanDisk Extreme SSDs. In a firmware update. But I've read reports that even after the firmware update, they have this exact problem happen. Now, what is this exact problem? I can't replicate it here. Replicate it here, that's what I meant to say, not replicate. Replicate. Now, with this change to how SanDisk has been behaving, why is it just now that I bring this up? Because SanDisk was recently, SanDisk and Western Digital were recently hit with multiple class action lawsuits. Not just one, not just 2, 3, from all separate customers who had this exact problem happen with a SanDisk Extreme portable SSD, and basically they now, why has Western Digital and SanDisk been silent since May? I don't know, and I think only SanDisk themselves know. Now, for those who are wondering, this is a 1 terabyte SanDisk portable Extreme Go. If I can get the camera to focus, you can see it's SanDisk Extreme Go portable SSD. I'm blocking out the serial number, but you can see there's all the markings. But yeah, this is the 1 terabyte, and it doesn't have a spot on the affected drives list. But will I be buying more SanDisks? No. Nor will I buy any more Western Digitals. In fact, I'm going to be phasing out all my SanDisk and Western Digital drives, which is really disappointing because I've been using these since I was little. And now that they've disappointed me twice now, actually, Western Digital specifically, SanDisk is only 1, but having been disappointed by Western Digital twice now, I've made the difficult decision to completely ditch them for Seagate and Samsung. Now, will I be collecting these to get rid of? it of and give to people in need? Probably not. At least not for the SanDisk Extreme SSDs. I will be giving other USB drives to people in need if I ever decide to. However, I have yet to make that decision as of filming this video. I will put a post on my blog explaining this. But, this SSD I've had no problems with. However, I'm still not confident in using it as my daily, which I have since I got this back in July, which is when I got this. So, why am I only just now deciding not to use it? Again, I didn't hear about it until just recently. But I have a bunch of SanDisk and Western Digital drives that I'm not using anymore because of this. Now, why? Well, because of this exact problem. Not just because, but also back in April, the WD My Cloud went down out of nowhere and locked people out of their user data, including mine. Now, WD My Cloud is basically a self-host cloud server where you get a cloud storage server sent to your home rather than paying on a monthly or yearly basis for cloud storage. The reason I have one is because that's the route I wanted to go. But now, I'm not even going to. Because back in April, they mentioned about a breach that took down their entire thing for almost 2 weeks. So, that was their first chance, and this is their second chance. I'm not giving them a third chance. So, I'm basically going to ditch SanDisk and Western Digital as well. If you are wanting further details as to the changes that will be made, be sure to go to my blog post. And also check my website for the latest if you're watching this at a later date. So, if you guys want to get a solid state drive for portable use, I would stay away from SanDisk, and I'm even going to stay away from Western Digital just because of the incident back in April, as well as this. So, yeah. Be careful with what you buy. Even though it may be a reputable brand, that reputable brand can easily demolish itself. And that's what SanDisk and Western Digital have done here. I've been reading reviews from online storefronts of exactly this, and a lot of them, I've seen over 100, most of which are from people who bought multiple. Now, whether or not they are going to fix this for sure, I don't know. Western Digital and SanDisk have refused to reply to any of the news outlets I've heard report this, including, and I did not mean to bump the tripod there, by the way, including The Verge and Ars Technica. So, why is it just now become such a big deal? Well, SanDisk and Western Digital have been silent on this since May, and the firmware update never fixed any of the issues. Even on drives that did get it, and had failed beforehand, and are still failing now, they had the firmware update applied, maybe had, but most of the ones where I've read they applied the firmware update, they still had issues. Given this decision, and the earlier incident from April, I've decided I will no longer be purchasing any SanDisk or Western Digitals. And I'm going to phase them out. Now, I mentioned this already, but still. Now, as for the alternatives, again, I mentioned Seagate and Samsung are the brands I'm going to be dailying once I completely ditch these. But what about alternatives? Because I use a SanDisk memory card for my camera. I use SanDisk recovery. I use SanDisk USB drives for my recovery drives for my computers. They will be swapped out with Samsung's or a separate brand other than SanDisk or Western Digital, and all my hard drives will be replaced with Seagate drives. Now, the reason I'm including Western Digital in here is because Western Digital owns SanDisk, and so obviously when one brand fails you, you go to another brand. But make sure it's not owned by the same company. That's one thing I should add. So that's why I'm ditching SanDisk and Western Digital both at once. Because SanDisk is owned by Western Digital. And if SanDisk fails you, then Western Digital is going to fail you as well. Now, they've already failed me back in April. They're failing me again here with this whole thing where they're failing to treat their customers the way they should be treated. And I'm not the only one who's complaining here. Several others, like again I mentioned Ars Technica and The Verge, both had SanDisk Extreme SSDs die on them the same way, where they would randomly erase themselves. And that was before the firmware update had even been released. So I would just say stop using a SanDisk Extreme SSD regardless, and I would even go as far as to stop using a SanDisk altogether. Now, I know some people are going to keep investing in Western Digital. That might be fine, but I do know SanDisk SSDs especially are basically don't buys. Now, this does lead to a bit of a puzzling state, because after I wrote that blog post, I did notice that SanDisk's Extreme SSDs were on sale at major retailers for like large discounts. This leads me to think that they're trying to ignore the elephant in the room. So, the fact that this is happening is clearly puzzling. And the fact that they've been silent on everyone's contact leads me to believe they don't even care. Which is why I'm ditching both brands. So, Western Digital, if you ever want to get my trust back, just fix this. Now, I know this is not the typical video you wanted to see. I will make a blog post once I've fully migrated away from SanDisk and Western Digital products. Including memory cards, hard drives, USB drives. And if you guys want to see more videos on my channel, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, comment below, anything else I should get. And I'll see you in the next video.